Hello everyone, I am Harrison Kelly and this is Scroll Sidelines. Welcome back to the show. We've got Ethan Beecher, Tyler Pluid, Peyton Gold, and myself here on the panel. And there's so much to talk about right now with intramurals, with swim, like basketball, swim, and then BYU basketball. We're gonna get into that a little bit. So let's start with intramurals. You guys, we've been covering the intramural games. What's the latest? I know the women's played this last week. We only had one men's game this week, so it's kind of light on the men's, but what do we got for the women so far?
No, yeah, definitely. We had a very small week for the intramural games. We had 3 women's games on Friday, 1 men's game on that same Friday. Your Lady Bruins get the big win over the Lady Knights, 63-51. The Lady Spartans get the big win over the Lady Vikings, 65-49. And that game was pretty crazy.
That game was nuts.
Because it was Madison McDonald that really led that Spartans team to that win. She comes out shooting really hot, 5 from 8 from deep. In the first quarter, she cooled off the rest of the game, but that was just enough to put them over the edge.
It's funny you mention that because Ethan and I were both covering that game. We were both broadcasting that game, and she was like throwing up threes, and she was making every one of them. For the first quarter, it was like 5 threes in a row, 15 total points, and she was wearing Jordan 1s.
That was great. That was awesome.
It was hilarious though, because I talked to her a little bit after the game, and I was just like, me and Harrison called it pretty much like Magic Jordan, or like Michael Jordan was pretty much with her the entire game. Because like honestly, like I thought that some of those shots weren't gonna make it, and then like she kept making those, and I was like, holy smokes.
And get this, they won by 15 points.
Exactly, it was crazy. So after that, I was just like, oh my goodness. But no, another stout that we want to talk about real quick is Chelsea Gunderson for the Hawks. The Hawks picked up their first win of the season, and really pretty much demanding fashion. Pretty much, you had Chelsea Gunderson, who probably was the MVP of that game, 13 points, 20 rebounds, and 7 blocks, and won the whole game.
Whoa.
I don't think I've ever seen. I did not call that game though. I think that was Jack Esplin and Noah that called that game. But I mean, I would want to see that performance.
She was aggressive down in the paint.
She probably had to. She probably had to be put up like something like Zach did when he had his 30-30. So I'm pretty sure it was kind of something similar to that though.
Wow. Really bringing out the Dennis Rodman. I just love to see that.
And I don't think I've ever seen 7 blocks in a game.
I haven't seen that.
I've yet to see that. Like in any like men's game or women's game this season, I don't think we've had blocks like higher than 3.
Yeah, that's Chelsea Gunderson. She had a defensive game.
And really quick to finally finish off the intramurals for the games, your men's Wolverines get the big win over the Spartans. Isaac Wilson was the lead scorer for that one. He had 26 points, 12 rebounds. This is also the Wolverines' second win in a row after starting zeros. They had 0 wins. I think their first 3 games or something like that.
0-3.
Yeah. So.
Or did they own 2? I think they were 0-3.
0-3.
I think they had one game beforehand, but I honestly want to touch on, especially on Isaac Wilson, especially because me and Tyler had the opportunity to call his game a couple weeks ago. And
that was the time they lost, right?
No, that was they won this game. The first game that they won. And I talked to Isaac because Isaac hit, I think, 3 threes in a row. And something that I've also talked about with the coach is that that loss, they had 101-49 against the Vikings. Like the coach got into them in that practice, and I think that's what's been kind of driving their force and trying to make sure that they are on the same page. And you're starting to see that a lot. You see Jaden Kuntz had 21 for them. Logan Crane had 23 for them. So they're getting points from other people other than Zach, even though Zach is still having a great performance. But also we want to talk about some of the injuries that we kind of saw this weekend. The lady,
unfortunate ones.
It was a couple of unfortunate ones, and we kind of probably want to start with the Lady Bruins and Lady Knights that we had. I think there was about top 3 players. I think me and Harrison saw Kimberly Stoner within the first minute and a half of the game. She talked about like how her ankle like all of a sudden just popped, went straight to the ground. She was pretty much out the rest of the game.
We thought,
and then she came back.
Yep. One thing I want to talk about that too. I talked to Zach Stoner after the game, and I said, "What was that about? Did she hurt her knee?" And he said that she popped something in her ankle, and it scared her really bad. So that's why they took her out.
Yeah.
She fought through it. She came back and played, and she did really well.
Yeah, especially when she came back, like she had I think 2 rebounds before she came out, and then after she came back in later in that game, she ended up with 7 rebounds and 5 points. So like that's really kind of cool for her, especially only playing that little bit that she actually did. So
and another big one to talk about though is Jill Leishman though.
Oh yeah.
It was you can definitely tell. I think me, Tyler, and Harrison were on this game. You could tell that Jill and her ankles are kind of getting a little stiff because she kind of wasn't as fast as we kind of saw her in the beginning, right? We kind of saw her put up these huge miraculous numbers, thought she was going to be like one of the great players, and now she's kind of dwindling a little bit, but it's probably because of these injuries though. So, but shout out to Haley Humphreys though. She had 12 points off the bench. Same thing with Caprice Johnson, who kind of stepped in, who's kind of been their second person for Jill. So thankfully for the Bruins, there's a lot of people coming in and picking up the slack instead of it all just relying on Jill.
Caprice Johnston is dangerous down in the paint, though.
It
you don't want to get her. You don't want to get her alone, like one-on-one, on her way to the basket, because she throws up points.
And she's probably one of the taller players for the league too. I think the tallest one is Chelsea Gunnarsson though, but she's one of the taller people. So especially when Kimberly Stoner went out of that game, like you could just tell like that's all the Bruins were going to, because the Knights really don't have that size advantage that the Bruins did unless you had Kimberly Stoner playing pretty much the whole entire game.
Right. A lot to talk about for the intramurals here at basketball, because there's so many talented athletes here at BYU-Idaho, and it's so hard to there's so many that it's hard to cover all of them in just one show. So it's great stuff. Hopefully you guys are definitely watching that, and because the games this weekend this weekend they're playing games tomorrow.
And Saturday.
Tomorrow morning. Yeah. So
and then
today and then tomorrow.
And every single team should be playing 2 games this week, which is really crucial, especially like I know some of the lady games, they're back-to-back days.
Yep.
And some of them don't even get breaks. I know, like I was looking at the schedule, one of them plays at like 8 p.m. on Friday night, and they play 10 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Man.
So it's kind of like college, bro. Like you got to be ready for like quick recovery. Make sure you get to bed on time. Don't stay up till 3 a.m. on a Friday night, like because your body's gonna need it, especially if you're kind of one of the more people that are playing like about back-to-back days. Because I don't think we've had that at all this season. So.
That's especially important with all these teams who have these injured stars too. Like you have to be eating healthy. You got to go to sleep on time. You got to make sure your process is dialed in.
And I get it. Like all these athletes, they're basically playing for brownie points and a T-shirt. Like that's what the champions get in the championship. But they're doing it for the love of the game, and props to them for doing that.
And thankfully, no ACL injuries. I don't think we've had an ACL.
Not yet. No.
I know the NBA, the WNBA. I know like there's a lot of college people that are just tearing their ACLs left and right. So thankfully, no one has had an ACL tear.
Good foreshadowing, because we're going to be talking about that here in a little bit. But before we talk about that unfortunate news, let's go to swim. So the swim team, the swim leagues at BYU-Idaho have had 2 weeks, and we've got 2 weeks worth of meets that they've been doing. And let's just talk about the Spartans and the Titans. They are leading the league right now. They're both 2-0, and they really early, strong starts to the season. And I want to talk about the Titans because they have 2 MVPs on their team. They got Claire Rampton, she's on the Titans, and then Will Hardcastle, he's also on the Titans. And with the swim leagues, they're mixed co-ed because they didn't have a whole lot of people try out, and it still works out great. And we got some great athletes in the water. But Claire Rampton from the Titans and Will Hardcastle from the Titans, they're both the MVPs for this week from the same team, which is pretty standout. It's something that stands out for the Titans. And then Taylor Ryan from the Spartans and Preston Pippin from the Hawks. Just want to highlight them. They're having a season so far. We are going to go to the swim meets this weekend, and we're going to get some coverage from those meets so we can have more on the players, on the teams, what the coaches feel about their teams, and get more coverage from them later on. But I just want to highlight the Spartans and the Titans are having a really good start so far. They're only 2 weeks in, and those are some of the star players to look at from all of those teams. But yeah, let's talk. Okay, we talked about ACLs. Unfortunately,
oh, man.
It's been a hard week for BYU basketball.
Yeah, so what a crazy game. I got to go, It was wild. So you had the legendary Jimmer Fredette. His jersey got retired. You go in this stadium, every seat is just full of 32, his jersey everywhere. It was crazy environment. Obviously BYU, they played Colorado in the Big 12. They ended up winning in a wild finish in overtime, 90-86. Very offensive game. BYU did not play good at all defensively. Obviously, you lose Richie Saunders in the first minute of the game. You see him walk off. Maybe you think he's gonna be okay, and then you find out 2 days later he tore his ACL.
Because he was holding his thumbs up too to the crowd. He was like, "Yeah, like I'm good and everything."
Yeah.
And then comes out the next day. Yeah, I just tore my ACL, so bye season. Like so it is hard.
And I just want to talk about their performance too. Like I know they're down Richie Saunders, they're down Dawson Baker. They've had a really rough season for injuries. I think they would be in a lot better spot if both Dawson and Richie were playing on the court together, but man, they are struggling so hard to get boards. They are so awful. I'm sorry to say this, but they are so awful at getting offensive boards. They don't box out very well. They don't attack the ball very well, and they shouldn't have had this close of a game in Colorado.
Oh, definitely not.
This shouldn't have been even like a close game.
Yeah.
And I think that it comes down to a lot of the times you're talking about rebounds though. Like they did get out rebound on offensive rebounds 8-6, but I do think we were talking. There's a news thing that came out with Kevin Young, and I think Payne talked a little bit about this before the show. When Richie Saunders went down, the whole stadium was like shook. Like no one expected this.
You could tell from all the players in their press conferences, like they were all pretty devastated about Richie because he's their main leader, right? He's the senior. He's been there for 4 years. I don't know when the next time we'll ever have a 4-year BYU player. But also you had Keba Keita, who's apparently has an injured hand. He's been dealing with that for a while now. So I think that's part of the big reason why they've been struggling a lot to attack, to get those rebounds. We'll probably see a lot more of a boop here pretty soon. So.
And I think one thing too you're gonna have to rely on, especially for BYU, you have to rely on a consistent bench. I mean, you got a lot. You had really great minutes from Tyler Mruis, from Kostick. You had like really great minutes from them. You had 18 points from the bench. The problem though that you're gonna have to make sure to keep an eye on this week, especially heading into I think Iowa State on Saturday. You have to limit the turnovers. 16 turnovers. And AJ's got to take care of the ball because I guarantee you, just looking
AJ had 7 turnovers.
Exactly. Yeah. So you taking from this game, you already know that AJ's going to probably handle the ball a lot more. You're going to have RJ or Rob Wright is going to probably handle the ball a lot more. So you just have to be really consistent with the ball because especially with these teams, we'll find out what happened on this Wednesday with Arizona and then now with Iowa State. Like you have to take care of the ball because if not, those teams like they've already beaten all these great teams so far, and it's because they limit their turnovers and they don't turn the ball over themselves either.
Yeah, and let's just talk about the offensive leaders though. I mean, Rob Wright had a game.
Yeah,
he had
like
to.
They struggled. He had to have a game.
He had to.
39 points. Yeah. He was 12 for 16 field goal rate. Like you have to have a guy that's on like that if you want to have a bounce back. And
especially without Richie.
Yep.
And Robert Wright was 100% shooting from the free throw line, which is what you want to see. That's awesome. And then 11 and 13 from the give me a sec. I messes up a little bit.
He was 11-13 from the field goal.
I do want
to
ask though, like when he went down with that ankle injury, did y'all thought that he was going to be out for the game? Because he had that one drive, I think early in the second half, where he went for a layup, he came down on his ankle and he started limping, and I was like, this is way bad news if Rob Wright goes down as well. I was like holding my breath. I was like, oh no. You have Richie and now Rob
You basically need Robert Wright, Eji DeBonsa. They need to go off every game now, especially if you're playing without Richie. Like if you want a chance in the tournament coming in March, you got to have them play lights out.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the tournament here, and I know it's kind of early to tell. We're not to March just yet, but it's right around the corner. It really is. We should probably talk about this. I mean, we've lost Richie, we've lost Dawson. We've got to keep a healthy team, but we need to also have a consistent bench. What's BYU gonna do going into March Madness?
I think the biggest thing from my take that I've seen just watching from the BYU game this year is the last point you mentioned. Your bench has to be consistent. The biggest X factor that you're going to have to come into this game are 2 key players. number 30 in Kennard Davis, and number 7 in Boop. You have to have really great games from Davis, and you have to have good games from Boop. I guarantee you Boop's probably going to be replacing Richie. I know you mentioned, Payne, right before the show that they might sub Kata out now with that hand injury.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that Davis is getting hot when he needs to, and in Boop, because if they miss their first couple of shots, they kind of dictates the game for them. You can tell they get inside their heads too much. And the last thing to do is kind of what you talked about earlier in the show. They have to rebound the basketball. If they don't rebound the basketball at all throughout this whole season, they're going to get blown out in the Big 12 tournament, and then they're going to pretty much get blown out in the when March comes around.
Yeah.
And it's going to be
because you're gonna have turnovers no matter what.
Exactly.
But and you got to limit those. But a way you can also bounce back from those is by getting those offensive
and getting
rebounds,
stops. Yep.
Getting stops. And so,
yeah.
I don't know height. I think you said before the show being generous, you could see them get to 32. I don't even know that they'll get past 64. Maybe I'm just being a pessimist, but
I mean, playing devil's advocate is probably like the most important thing right now, especially for this BYU team. I mean, their next game is against Iowa State. They're coming off 2 massive wins, taking down the number 2 Houston, and then also
beating Kansas by
beating Kansas by 20. I mean, granted, Darren Peterson had a little bit of an injury, but
it doesn't matter.
But Kansas is great.
It doesn't matter. I mean, Kansas beat Arizona without Darren Peterson.
That's true. That's
Come on. Kansas has been up and down all season. Like they've been on. They'll do so good one game, and the next game they'll get blown up by 20.
Yeah.
So I mean, they really gotta just take care of the ball. That's the big thing. Rebound the ball, like we were saying. But they really have to understand that this is going to be a very high-pressure game, and Iowa State has a suffocating defense, and they will not let them go anywhere. So that's another thing. Like AJ, Rob, all of them, they're going to have to be careful with.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what BYU can do and see how they react with some practice time to some of these roster changes. But we'll see what they do with Iowa State. We're going to get full coverage of those games next week. And thanks for tuning into the show. We appreciate it. Make sure to go check out BYU-I basketball on Saturday, tomorrow morning, because they've got some games then. And then also stay up to date with BYU-I swim. We got some great athletes here at BYU-Idaho, so don't let them go to waste. Until next time, we'll see you.